Welcome, folks, to this week's edition of Tech Sales Advice. I'm, of course, your host, Chris White, and this is the LinkedIn Live show for technical sales professionals and technical sales leaders. And, folks, I like to remind you, these are live conversations. I was actually chatting with a gentleman earlier this week or last week who agreed to be on the podcast. He said, well, time out. They're actually live? Yes, these are live conversations. These are not pre-recorded. As I like to say, these conversations are by design, unscripted, unrehearsed, and unpredictable. And I have a feeling today's conversation may be a tad unpredictable because my guest today has a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience. He is incredibly enthusiastic and energetic, and particularly about what we're going to be talking about today. His name is Steve Davis. He is the CEO of Provarity. Some of you may be familiar with Provarity, a pretty well-known vendor in our space. And they are revolutionizing the way they are helping SE leaders, not surprisingly, with AI. And we're going to be talking about AI. What does it mean to be AI native? How are sales engineer leaders leveraging AI? How should they be leveraging AI? We might even talk a little bit about investing and some of the investment conversations he's having. Steve, thank you so much for being here, sir. It's great to see you. How are you?
Good to see you, Chris. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
So Steve and I met, a month or two ago. He assembled a few, if I can use the term loosely, thought leaders, because I was included in that group. And I'm not sure I'm ready to give myself that label. And I think we called ourselves what? The pre-sales mafia?
Pre-sales mafia.
So you're the head of the pre-sales mafia, in addition to being a longtime CRO, a longtime sales engineer leader yourself. Yeah. So Steve, you're relatively new-ish to Provarity. Do you mind just a brief introduction on your background and sort of, why Provarity? Why make this leap to join Provarity?
Yeah. So, I've been around for a long time, a lot of gray in the beard. And what ended up happening was I got a call from some folks in the VC community who I've known for years. And they said, Steve, we've got this company. It's in the pre-sale space. We know you were an SE and an SE leader for a long time before I did sales management and worked my way up to CRO. And they said they're looking for a CRO. It's small. I usually work for a little bit bigger companies, but we know this space, love the space. What do you think? I said, well, let me learn more. Typical SE. Let me get under the covers. And so saw the product, saw the concept. And what was amazing to me, and all the best companies I've ever worked at, all have kind of the same template, which is take a process that's been manual forever. It's miserable to do. It's the worst part of your job, and you automate it. And some of the largest software companies in the world have kind of started that way. And when I started to think about pre-sales, it was amazing to me that the things my teams were doing 20 years ago are still the same things teams are doing today, which is, how do you run a proof of concept, a workshop, a pilot, a POV? And it's all these different tools. It's Excel, it's Slack, it's GitHub, it's, siloed data. And it's still the most miserable part of the technical evaluation. And what Provarity goes out to the market with is, we're going to automate this, cut your time in half, have you get more technical wins. And at the end of the day, you're going to lower CAC and increase revenues by a huge percent. So I always look for, when I join companies, like, is this an opportunity for a problem that exists? It is. Has it been around a long time? It is. Does the market need this? It does. And I said, you know what? This is kind of a great fit for my entire career coming to a head.
Amazing.
And then after I was CRO for a little bit, the plan was for me to take over as CEO, and our CEO then went to our board. And it's been an awesome experience so far. And we're just incredibly excited at the opportunity at Provarity.
Yeah. Well, and I've had the opportunity to at least observe the journey for the past 3 or 4 years. I was first introduced to Provarity back when it started. In fact, I know your colleague Dave McCall likes to say POCs tend to be the dark side of the moon. You not only is it highly manual and it's a tad chaotic, but oftentimes sales leadership has no visibility into those POCs. And, a typical account executive, once it gets to the POC, well, this is a done deal, right? They're just going to work their magic, but it doesn't always happen. So I know part of what you all are intended or designed to do is shed light on that dark side of the moon. So I'm eager to pick this apart from an AI perspective. And incidentally, Steve, let me just say a quick hello. Cliff Barcliff has said hello, and a few other people have said hello. Someone from Colorado, someone from Presales Mafia, although we don't see the names, so you can say. If you do have any questions for Steve or myself, please feel free to ask. If you want to just say hello, we don't see who's out there, folks. So please feel free to say hello and chime in. One of the things that you said to me in a recent conversation is you mentioned something about AI native. And I said, I'd like to start there because I'm not sure I understand. And, there's for a long time, sort of we were all moving to the cloud, and then cloud native became sort of a big thing. Yeah. So just let's level set on this idea of AI native.
Yeah. Let me take it back a step and then we'll get there. Right. And what I've always seen, and it's, I've got a very long career in software at this point, and that's how people look at it, which is really funny to me. Every 5 years, there's a new architecture. Back in the day, it was mainframe went to client server, and then mainframe was legacy. And 4 years after that, client server was legacy because everyone went to internet cloud. And then it went to apps, and then apps became AI, kind of where we end up. So, this is the new thing over the next 5 years, however long it'll last. And then again, mark my words, 5 years from now, it'll be quantum, which if I was smart enough, I'd be in quantum now, but I have no idea what it really means. So, and that was, that's me 4 or 5 years ago with AI. I'm like, what do you mean it's AI? So the way we look at it, there's a difference between AI native and AI bolt-on, AI add-on. And if I'm being completely frank, Provarity was AI add-on. Let's just call it what it is. We had an architecture that's been around for a while. The company's been around 4 or 5 years. Now, again, it's amazing that that's antiquated, right? It's 4 or 5 years ago.
Amazing. Yeah.
But it's a traditional architecture. And the decision I had to make coming in as CEO was, is that good enough? Is bolting on some AI functionality good enough? And it's not. It's just not anymore. And we wouldn't be able to compete if we stayed in that environment. And so the decision was made over, like, now you're talking 6 to 12 months of, we are going to redesign this product. It's rip and replace from the ground up. It's now AI native. Now, the benefit we got at Provarity is we've been around 4 or 5 years. So we have all that incredible market knowledge, great customers. We have all that market context that we can then put into an AI native platform. So that's kind of step one. It's AI native versus AI bolt-on or AI powered. We're an AI powered. That's a red flag, right?
Okay.
That means they added on an agent or a chat bot or did something, right? And I can get in and kind of talk about differences between AI powered and AI native. But to start, what AI native is, there's 3 core components of an AI native platform. And this is what I explain. I explain this to investors. They're testing me, our knowledge when we talk to investors, when we talk to them a lot. The first layer is your data layer. And someone smarter than me explained it as, this is your fuel, right? It's the fuel. How do you manage, massive, diverse sets of data, and you need to do it in real time. So you have a data layer that's doing your data ingestion, the data pipelines, and then that data has to go into a place to exist, and that's now the fancy. It's like vector databases, right? And basically, it's a specialized database that stores unstructured data. And I'm not going to get into embeddings and all the numerical vector. It's like people do this to confuse. I honestly believe that. It's basically where you store unstructured data, text, images, audio, all that stuff. And the reason you do that is you're trying to set up the data in a way for fast search retrieval. Again, another topic everyone talks about, RAG, right? So it's to set up unstructured data for RAG, retrieving the data. And then the third part of the data layer is your knowledge base. And, for knowledge base, that's the repository for your structured data and unstructured data.
Yep.
The AI model needs to reference. Right? Like that's your data layer, right?
Yep.
So an AI native. So you got your data layer, then you've got your model layer. And this people know probably a lot more about your LLMs, Gemini, ChatGPT,
Yep. Yep.
right? You've got ML ops, ML operations tools. There's 1,000 products that do this now. And that's how you automate your AI models, the versioning, the training, right? How to keep them up to date.
Right.
The
Yep.
big challenge is how do you lower the hallucinations, right? And that's all part of that. And then you've got your orchestration framework, that tools that actually manage the complex workflow, the multi-steps that are within the logic that you need to actually coordinate multiple models, which gets into a fascinating conversation. Something we're doing now is it's, okay, what philosophy of agentic are you putting in? And that's your third layer, which is agentic or contextual, right? So again, if I, summarize, it's a data layer, a model layer, an agentic's context layer. And that layer is what allows access into the LLM, and where both RAG and MCP come into play. MCP, again, and I'm sure someone online is probably going, this is not an exact definition. Bear with me. I always try to dumb things down for myself, where it's like RAG's really great with unstructured data. MCP you're using on structured live retrieval. And between the two, you get a query from your end user. You're getting all that data in quicker and faster than you can imagine, right? So that's your AI native platform, right? From the ground up. And that's, again, there's a lot more that goes into it and how you maintain a management, but that's what it is, as opposed to an AI powered platform, right? And so an AI powered platform is that agentic contextual part only bolted on to an older architecture or traditional, I say antiquated just to make the point, but it's a traditional, right? Your traditional database, which wasn't built for rapid retrieval. Now, I was having a conversation. I was with my daughter. She's in college right now, and we were having this conversation about AI. And I said, this was explained to me in a way which made a lot of sense. The old world was, I went to search for a song, and I typed in, I need a Taylor Swift song called, I'm not I shouldn't say I'm not.
I don't know Taylor Swift either.
Yeah. Name a Taylor Swift song. I just aged myself. So, and I put in the name of the artist and the song, and it comes back. That's what it is. The AI world is, I want to hear a song that's like this Taylor Swift song mixed with a Beatles song that sounds like, and it comes back with an answer.
Yeah.
You cannot have an AI powered platform do that anymore. It's got to be AI native under the covers, and that's that data model and agentic layer.
Got it.
And that's a huge difference. And I love that example because I'm like, one is a rules-based, right? Rules-based, traditional architecture. I can get my isolated answers back, versus one is continuously learning at all times via models, and it's systemic. It's from the ground up. It's every part of your offering has this intelligence within it. And that's, again, native versus bolt-on. So
amazing. So just a couple observations. The first observation is, I suspect in some circles you have a hard time convincing people that you're a sales professional because you don't sound like a sales professional. You actually sound like a technology person. So and maybe that's the root, that's your roots in the sales engineering side of the house. So, and the second thought in that line is that this is a perfect example. I work with a lot of SC leaders and sales engineers who wish their account executives could just talk more intelligently about what they sell. You just gave a perfect example of how to talk intelligently about what you sell without going too deep into the weeds.
That's an art. And so here's this is really funny. And now that I hire a million people over the years, I was an SC, and I had a mentor of mine say, you know what, you can do the switch. You can make the jump, become an AE. I was like, I don't know. I like being the technology smart guy. He's like, you're not going to be the technology smart guy. You're going to go in, they're going to hate you. as the AE. I'm like, yeah, but I like being the guy in the room. And they're like, well, if you want to make the leap, you can do it. And my first year in sales, I failed miserably, Chris. I was bad. And I look back and you can see all the mistakes, but the biggest problem I had, my crutch, was always going back to feature functionality. Let me tell you more about the product. Let me show you more about the product. But I'm selling to executives at Fidelity Investments. They're like, we don't care about that. How much money is this going to make me? And how are you different from everybody else saying the same exact thing?
Exactly.
And so that first year I failed there, and I failed at building pipeline because, hey, as an SE, one of the best parts about being a good SE, you'll have a job for a long time if you're a good SE. I don't have to get the meetings.
Right.
And then I became a prima donna, and I'm like, I'm only working with the top reps because they're the ones who close, and I'm the ones who close. Like, you get into that, and I'm like, this is a great job.
Right.
Yeah. So making the leap that first year was brutal. It was bad. And then I started to figure out, okay, if I build the pipeline and I can learn 80% of what I need to know with technology, but only talk about 20% of it.
Right.
And that's how I try to train my sales reps. So one of the things I always say is whether or not we have best product, does this, that, rah, rah, we will have the best team on the market. And our sales reps will be trained smarter and better than any other competitive team out there. And that's what we do. And that's what I've done at every company. I want them to understand the under the covers, but also know what to talk about. And when you bring an SE in to get to that next level down of someone who's writing an MCP rag integrate, I'm not doing that. I can explain it, but I probably don't need to. And let's bring that over to pre-sales. So
and the ability to focus on or emphasize the quote why it matters. Right.
That's the biggest
why
part.
you care.
Yeah.
So that was the first observation. The second, and just kudos to you, that was a masterclass in how to be a sales professional and talk enough about the technology. So enough said there. The second thought, really, really appreciate the example that sounds like your daughter helped you with understanding the difference between, I think you said, AI powered platform versus AI native platform. I would love to ask you if you can give a more tangible example in the sales engineer realm. What might be like, let's just say a use case of an AI powered platform versus a use case that an AI native platform might be able to handle?
There's 100 of them. And this was eye-opening for me too. So as we go out and build our platform, I have a mantra I tell everyone in the organization: if it takes more than 2 clicks, figure out a different way. Right? The world's gone. The world of having people go through your software to get trained, it just doesn't exist anymore in an AI native world. So give me an example. All our SEs need deal summaries. They don't want to create a deal summary. It's one of the worst parts of the job. I've gone through a 4-month POC, and now I need to take all of the data from all these different my Excel spreadsheet, Slack channel, and try to put it together, right? There's 2 things you can do. On the AI native world, the new world we're in, it's hit a button, which is actually your query, create this deal summary for me. And through MCP and all these integration points, whether you're taking data in from Teams or Gong or wherever, from Slack, it creates it for you, right? It's incredible. It creates that for you. But the next level of that, right? So yeah, we can create a deal summary, and that's really valuable. Saves a ton of time. People love it. That's great. But imagine if you had an agent beforehand say, I've created this deal summary for you based on the way you've used the product before. We know it should really be here. Here it is. And oh, by the way, do you want me to send this to the prospect?
Wow.
And it's learning. Your LLMs under the covers continue to learn. We're training these every minute, every day. And this, it's a great question. And there's 100 examples of this, right, in the product, which is wonderful. You just keep coming up with, yes, you want to get down to it's like, yes, I want to do that. Or I've already done this for you. Do you approve? That's where you're trying to get to versus a rules-based format of, I've got to-dos, I've got notes, I've got all this stuff. Well, imagine if the notes were populated for you too, right? Oh, we saw this from your transcript. These look like notes with next steps. Gong can do that already. I don't need to recreate that, but I do need to get that into my system. So our system learns from it. So it's not just one integrated platform between Salesforce, us, and all your other sales tools. That's what you're doing differently, right? And it's just it's a completely different ballgame now.
Yeah, it's the word that was going through, or the term that was going through my mind as you were sharing, is paradigm shift. And to be fair, Steve, I feel like I'm still trying to wrap my head around this paradigm shift. I was sharing with you offline a few minutes ago how I'm starting to use ChatGPT in ways that I never would have imagined, and I think most of us are. When I'm working with, let's say, an AI native platform like Provarity, or what Provarity is evolving into, how is the user experience different from, say, a Chat GPT, where I'm basically having, if I can use the term, a dialogue with the AI? Is it similar with an AI native platform like Provarity? Am I having a dialogue with it, or are there just certain things happening? Walk us through that a little bit more.
Yeah, we're trying to have both. Right, it's a little bit of best of both worlds. So we want the ability for the user to come and have a dialogue. Do this, create me that. Should I do this? Right.
Okay.
In all, frankness, that takes time because you're trying to get hallucinations out. It's got to learn. There's a lot that goes into the LLMs under the covers, which, it's hard to be a buyer right now because anyone can vibe code a demo. And we know companies who do it. Oh, look at we just added this feature in. That doesn't mean under the covers there's APIs, there's security, there's integrations. It's a really cool looking demo. And if your LLMs under the covers aren't actually educated, you're going to have hallucinations. It just takes a little bit of time and training. So it's the part we're trying to do is, you can prompt with it. We want that interaction, but in a business to business world, SCs trying to get their deals done, we're trying to say, like, here's your library of things to do. Click here if you want to do it, or have the agent do it for you. Yeah. Now, if you want to go in and do search and prompts, make your own, fine, go ahead. But we're really trying to bridge the gap between B2C, which is a lot of Chat GPT work, and Gemini. I use it every day, right? Versus B2B as both components. And I'm always trying to think of things as a former SC and SC leader, efficiency. And efficiency means I log in, I get to see what I want to see, and oh wow, look at all the work that's already been done for me. Yeah. This is the best system I've ever used. Like, that's what we want to accomplish for our customers.
Yeah. Yep. Steve, let me just push our pause button just for a moment, folks. I'm speaking to Steve Davis. He is the CEO of Provarity. They are in the process of reinventing their platform as an AI native platform. He's been talking to SE leaders. He's been talking to investors, and we're just having a candid conversation about AI native and AI in the technical sales world. If you do have any questions for Steve or any comments, please feel free to share. So, Steve, I want to just sort of take this conversation a step further. I know you've been talking to a lot of potential, let's just call them, buyers, prospects, interested parties. Who are you typically talking to? Is it the SE leader? Is it sales ops? Is it CROs? And how do they envision a platform like yours sort of fitting into their, let's just call it, their go-to-market stack?
Yeah, that is a loaded question. So lots in there. It does depend on the industry, right? So different industries buy different ways, right? We are an enterprise complex solution that we are selling. we're not product-led growth, right? So we're not talking to individual users saying, hey, try our product, jump on and sign up on your own. That's not a fit for us today. Maybe it is down the road. It's not today. So we go in and we're talking to typical sales 101. Who owns the budget? So who owns the budget for pre-sales tools? Typically CROs and VP of RevOps. Yeah. Occasionally, depends on the size of the company, global head of SEs, VP of SEs. So we'll talk to those three for sure. It's different value conversations for each, right? It's a different pitch and story for each. And I think one of the benefits you get at Provarity is we've built a product where we've got our background is sales tech, right? Like this is what we know. We have people from Gong. We have people with my background. We have people from the cyber background who understand cyber intricately and it's built, so we go in and, it's sales 101 again. We talk their language, but the people we talk to, it's a different pitch for each. CRO cares about way different things than the VP of SCs or VP of RevOps. At the end of the day, they want their revenue increasing, right? So, we'll talk to all three of those people for sure. There's some other ancillary, but those are the big three we talk to everywhere. And then really prove out Provarity. The easiest thing to do from our end is, we're a POC company, do a POC with a POC company. You do that and it's your bread and butter. And you're like, okay, how easy was that? And they're like, okay, now we need to do it with our stuff.
It's interesting you should say that. I mean, you know what I do. I run a sales training business and I frequently have people say to me, honestly, if my people were running as good of a discovery conversation as you are running right now, we would be doing much better. So like this, just the experience in speaking with you is proof that you're probably a good person to work with. So another question, and I see that Cliff just asked a question. So I'm going to, Cliff, thank you for your question, and we'll address it in just a minute. Before we get there, I had another question that was directly related to what we were just talking about, which is who you're talking to. Particularly from the perspective of SE leaders, when you're speaking to SE leaders, do you feel like they're asking the right questions or thinking about AI in the right way? And if so, what is that? And if not, what should they be asking and or how should they be thinking about AI?
Yeah. So again, another interesting question. I think we try to figure out up front, and again, part of discovery is, what does AI mean to you?
Amen.
It means different things. Like if you go in with this, I just gave the AI native pitch. No, someone might not care about that.
Right.
They're like, but this is what we're looking to do. AI means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It really does. At the end of the day, I would say where everyone typically agrees, it's how do we make the jobs for SEs better, faster, easier, more efficient. They all come to that conclusion. They may not know how to get there. Some of the industries we talk to are very AI forward, and they know what we're talking to under the covers. They want to know that. They want to know how this works, how it's learning. Others are blown away, saying, I've never seen anything like this. How do we implement it? And then we walk through that way. But at the end of the day, the focus tends to be on efficiency, time saving, analytics, insights, smarts, all in order to win more deals faster, right? Like, so it is an interesting question though, and it does vary by both industry and the people we're talking to, for sure.
Do you think we're overusing the term AI? Yeah. And one of my observations is that because when I say everybody, every software company on the planet is trying to do something with AI, right? They're adding agents, so everybody's doing.
Yep.
And some of the advice that I've given some of my clients is if you position your add-on or your AI as an AI, are we not inviting the immediate comparison to ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Are we not so I guess, have you given this some thought? And at what what point are we going to stop saying AI? Because, well, of course it's AI, because everything, and it's just, well, this is what, I don't know. Do you follow where I'm going with these?
Not only do I follow it, I'm going to give a really embarrassing example. I'm wearing it. So when I joined, the company was called Provarity.ai. It's ridiculous, right? So we are just Provarity, because not only does everyone claim AI, just putting .ai at the end of your company doesn't make you an AI company. Right. The other problem with that, right? And I just love this gear. It's like my favorite. Like, so I'm like, hey, I'm
I mean, sometimes
I'm not throwing it away.
Sometimes you actually like the garment.
I do. Yes. So, the funny part is, an AI company, when people hear AI, it's ChatGPT, it's Gemini, it's Perplexity, it's Claude.
Yeah.
Those are your AI companies. Everyone else is a software company that either utilizes AI in a native fashion or as a bolt-on. Yeah. They're wildly different. And so that was one of the things I came on. In fact, it was one of our SEs came to me and said, Steve, it's an odd thing to do. And I'm like, well, I didn't come up with this, but I get to blame the other people. But no, we're Provarity. And it isn't just, especially like when you talk to investors, everybody throws out AI. Guess what? Investors are pretty savvy. They get under the covers fast. And if you went in leading with, oh, we're an AI company, you're going to get destroyed in that meeting. Yeah. And so we are a software company, just like there's been software companies forever. We have an incredible solution that is powered under the covers by AI, right? Yeah. And there is a difference. So it's a funny question. Well, I'm a living, breathing example of where we were.
So I'll tell you and anybody else listening how I'm advising my clients. I'm saying if it were me, I'd be introducing your solution as your intelligence engine.
Yeah.
Or the intelligence engine that you have built, you leveraging AI technology, right?
That's and when you think about like your moat as a company, everyone, investors, well, what's your moat? Like, how long can you compete before someone else builds this? The moat, the time horizon has never been shorter, which is hard. Used to, again, traditional architecture, you built something, you had 18 to 36 months before competitors could catch up. That's not the way it is anymore. So your moat becomes your expertise in the data, like you just said, your intelligence. Because if you have real AI native, you're training this, you're going to have more at-bats than anyone else. That's going to be hard to catch up to. And again, a major difference between vibe coding. Oh, look, we have the same screens and functionality. Yeah, you don't have the stuff under the covers, which is
the engineering. It's exactly it's the engineering. I mean, this is what makes this is what makes BMW or Mercedes different than Toyota, right? I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a gas powered gas combustible engine.
That's right.
It's engineering that goes into it, right? Yep. So. Okay, this is continuing to help me just sort of think these things through. Okay, so Cliff, he's actually been a guest on the show. He happens to live not too far away from here. So, Cliff, nice to see you. He joins just about all these. Right. Question: how to soothe customer concerns about data AI tools like Provarity have access to? Yep. So, I think what he's asking about is security, compliance. Yeah. Etc. Cliff, I hope I got that question right. What comes to mind, sir?
Yeah. So not only do I understand this question, we get it all the time. We sell to very secure companies, right? Very strict security policies. So what we've done in our product, which we know is different than others, which is very helpful to us. If you have to turn off your AI in certain parts of the product, you turn it off. Well, we're not allowed to use it. The better answer and better architecture is it's your data within your ecosystem. So there's nothing coming in and out. So if your company, Cliff, uses either ChatGPT or Gemini Pro, it's your own. There'll be a little statement on the bottom of the screen that says, your chats, whatever company you're at, for us, Provarity, it's your Provarity chats aren't used to improve our models. The data is not going anywhere else. So we have governors on whether it can go to third parties or if it's all stays insular. And it's a big, we had to build that in. Again, that's one of those things under the covers that you get knowledge from your customer saying, we can use AI, but it has to be within our ecosystem only. It can't be third party. So then we turn that part of it off.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. And I feel like this is maybe an uninformed question, but it's just coming from a place of confusion on my part.
Yeah.
When someone implements something like, let's just say a company decides to invest in Provarity, become a Provarity, do they choose the underlying, like the Chat GPT versus the Gemini versus the Copilot? Do you dictate that? How or is that even a thing?
Oh, it's a thing. No, that's
Okay.
You're not confused. That's definitely a thing. I just had this conversation last week with someone in that community. No one knows the winners yet. Like if we're all being like, if you just look at past.
So it's VHS Betamax. Is that what you're telling me?
Same thing. MySpace, Facebook.
I mean, you and I are old enough to know what that means.
Yeah.
I'm certain some of the people listening have no idea what I just referenced.
Yeah. MySpace, Facebook's probably a little bit more recent, but yes, I do know beta VHS. This always happens. It's the same movie, just another decade, 5 years down the road. We don't know the winners yet. Some models work better for certain things than others. We have built an agnostic platform, Chris. That was one of the things I talked about from my past. Like, guys, we cannot pick the winner yet. So do you want to use OpenAI? You want to use Gemini? You want to use Claude? Different models work better for different things. And that's what we're testing. And we see that in the outcomes. Having an agnostic model is a huge advantage for us. We can use anyone you want. Eventually, if you look at costs and you look at processing time and how we'll end up charging our customers, if it's, based on usage or a number of different models, will we pick a winner and one platform to go with? Maybe eventually, but right now it's a big advantage for us as well. We get to go in and say, doesn't matter who you use. These are how the models work under the covers. So we test all that stuff all the time. Now, it's a great question, comes up all the time. And it's something that gives a little bit of like, okay, everyone's like, that answer works for us, because if we said we're Gemini only, but we're a Microsoft, we're OpenAI, immediately you walk into, the brick wall of like, all right, then we can't work with this company. That's a potential. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. It's good to know that I wasn't taking crazy pills.
No. That's pertinent.
Steve, let me push pause just one last time. Folks, I'm speaking to Steve Davis. He is the CEO of Provarity, not Provarity.ai, Provarity. We are talking about what it means to be an AI native platform. We're talking about AI and pre-sales, how they are introducing new capabilities to the technical sales teams that they are working with. I don't even know what time it is. For some reason, I don't have my, okay. So we're about 40, believe it or not, we're about 40 minutes into this conversation. I feel like we've just started. We're going to go another 15 or 20 minutes tops. Folks, if any of you have any comments or questions, please feel free to ask. We don't see who's out there. By the way, I see Rochelle Cantero, who's also been a guest on this show, said hello. I'm guessing she's referring to when I said, just introduce your AI as your intelligence engine and not your AI. So appreciate that comment. Steve, there's another question that has sort of been floating around for me for the past, 6-ish months or so. Whenever I think about what's happening in the go-to-market tech stack. So we're talking about marketing tech and outreach tech and the sales tech and CRM and the CX tech, and any large company, they have 15, maybe 20, maybe 30 different products and tools that they use across that go-to-market team.
Yep.
If every one of them open or introduces their AI, it seems like what's happening is, and I'll do it more of a vertical stack. It seems like what they're doing is they're increasing the scope or the potential for what they can be used for.
Yep.
Well, if every tool in the stack is increasing their AI or increasing what they can be used for, it seems like now we run the risk of tools sort of stepping on one another, and they're probably all using different models, different different vectors and agents, and there's, I think you use the term hallucination, which means they're probably all inconsistent, but in an inconsistent way.
Yep.
You see the chaotic picture that I'm creating here. Are vendors like yourselves thinking about that?
Yeah.
And is there some thought to go to market orchestration?
Yeah, for sure.
My perspective.
Yeah. So what you're seeing is, again, it's a little bit of the Wild West right now. Every time there's a new, again, same movie. So every vendor can do everything, and there's all these tools. Eventually, within, 2 to 4 years, there will be consolidation. Number one, there will be backlash. Number two, why do we have 30 tools in here that all kind of do something similar-ish? The winners, and this is the way it's always been, will have a platform play, right? And the way I envision the future at Provarity is we will be the pre-sales platform of choice for every company. And to win that, you've got to start somewhere. And we are starting. We will win the technical evaluation stage. Every company we want using Provarity to manage and automate and analyze their technical evaluations. From there, instead of the 30 other tools on both sides, right? Both sides meaning post-sales, pre-sales, discovery, every stage there is, you either partner with someone or you integrate in a fashion of, again, consolidation, partner, live integration, eventually consolidation in the market. Some of these companies will come together, which will take your 30 vertical products and squish them down into 3 again. And that's what ends up happening always. Right now, all of us, the small guys, are all out there trying to win this niche. And what's funny is you've already got companies out there that I would say we compete with who are already going broad. They're already going, no, we can do all this stuff. I'm like, oh, good luck with that. Because it almost never wins. Almost never wins when it's this early. Great place to end up. And, we talk about vision. There are too many products out there. We can't do everything as good as everybody, and we know that. We will win this part of the market. That will do. From there, when I talk vision to people, they understand the vision. And, but it's interesting. Yeah, right now you're getting all these tools. And by the way, it's also never been easier to replace a software product. Never. Like I even look at that from my own experience of getting our own sales tech tools. There's Outreach and SalesLoft and 100 other outbound tools, right? Now we've consolidated everything on our environment. We're Apollo Clay. That's it. Gong, wonderful product. Love Gong. It's expensive. We're a startup. So yes, we integrate to Gong for our customers that are big, but like I want to be big enough someday to go get Gong again. But right now you leverage other tools. So we see it even for the tools we use. But yeah, eventually the whoever gets the platform, whoever makes the platform wins. That's what it's always been.
Yeah. Yep. So you said a couple things that I want to double click on. First of all, you said it's easier than it's ever been to replace software.
Yep.
And I could make some assumptions as to why that is, as could our listeners, but I want to make sure we don't miss the key point there. Why is it so much easier now to replace than ever before?
So the ability to quickly get live, right? Again, these AI native platforms now, it doesn't take you 6 to 12 months to get live, right? There's good and bad. The stickiness component, once you're in, is good on the LLMs and the intelligence. So if you are a product that is all about that intelligence first, which is what Provarity is, I think will be sticky, right? And that's the bet anyway, right? The products that just do features, easy to replace. And I just gave an example of it. Outbound, unfortunately, that's a commodity now. And where, look at Zoom Info, largest database of content. There's 50 of those. And there's a lot of consolidation now in that part of sales tech, right? There's been lots of, I think it was Clary and SalesLoft was the latest one a couple months ago. Yep. it's just going to continue. This is what happens. This is what happens. And so the way to be sticky is intelligence and data. That's kind of what it's a lot of, that's not new. For the folks that are feature function rich only, easy to replace.
Mm.
Yep.
The other, and you started answering the question before I asked. It's as if you read my mind. Another question I was going to ask as you were sharing is, how has what you've learned in, say, the past year changed the way you look for and leverage AI to help you run your sales organization?
Yeah, that is kind of where I was going with that, right? It's so we're now doing things that I wouldn't have dreamed of doing 18 months ago.
Wow.
Someone just asked me about, would I replace our BDRs with an AI BDR yet? And I said, not yet. I know where it's going. Just like there are products out there saying we can replace a sales engineer, use our AI. I'm a firm believer that if that's the case, you're probably selling to the wrong company. Our enterprise complex customers, still like one of the most important pieces of that company is the sales engineer, pre-sales. They are the experts that are between your product folks, the sales folks, CSMs. They're the glue if they're trained right.
100%.
And so when I look at AI to help us internally, it's, can I replace, if I had a farm, like if I had 30 BDRs, could I replace one? Yeah. Does it make their job better? Of the BDRs I keep? Yes. So I look at AI AI software solutions for us. What can help us do our job better, faster, not necessarily replace people? Is that where it's going in 2 to 4 years? Maybe. Companies have been trying this for forever again. It's another one. Oh, implement us and you can save all these costs on people.
Right.
And then what ends up happening, you got to think long term. So now I just replaced my BDRs with an agent, an AI BDR agent. Who am I training to now become the next SC or AE in the organization? Oh, but we have AI that can replace them too. Really? Okay. And that conversation. So now I've replaced an SC. Well, we have more prospects to go after, but who's handling them? Oh, the AI agent at a certain level. And all these promises of you can get rid of all this headcount, maybe 4 or 5 years from now, I don't know if ever. I just don't know if it's ever going to replace 100% of what experts can do in complex scenarios. I don't see it.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
In fact, and this is a lot of the work that I've done in the past year is built on this quote platform, if I can use that term, which is automate where you can, but elevate where you cannot. And it's the truly human skills of empathy and storytelling, emotional storytelling, right? And building rapport and understanding context and all those other things, right? So yeah.
It's hard to give a multi-million-dollar contract to someone you've never met.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the bottom. It's human nature.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. At least I don't think it's going to happen during my career. Probably our careers. Let's hope. So I have a couple of closing questions for you. But before I get to those closing questions, is there anything coming into today's conversation that you were thinking or hoping we might touch on that maybe we haven't, that you'd like to make sure you had the opportunity to put on the table?
Yeah, I think another thing we often see, which is always interesting to me, it's in this new world, because it's new. Something to always think about is, and we did this building our architecture, is how do we build a product that also isn't antiquated in 2 to 4 years? And what we always preach is being agnostic and being able to interoperate with different technologies is the key. For instance, there's now this religion philosophy around one agent versus multi-agent. If you built your product a year ago, and this is a huge advantage we have, like if you built your product a year ago and went live with we're the first, and you may have built it incorrectly. And it's not that it's incorrect. I shouldn't say incorrectly. but in a fashion of you're now reworking your models based on the latest advantages. And so what I just would put out there for everyone, everyone's AI crazy. Everyone says AI for everything. Understand what it really is under the covers, number one. But whoever you're going to work with, make sure you're working with the company that is going to keep you at the forefront of technology change and is able to do that in a manner of which you're not having to rewrite the platform again. So once we've done that and rewritten it, we now have an architecture that allows us to grow. I don't think people always think about that. And so like that as a parting shot, like whoever you end up going with, make sure that partner understands the hard stuff, has been there, has the experience to know that, because that's going to be a huge advantage for you to keep up with the latest and greatest, which is, it's harder than it's ever been. I've never seen so much change happen. So everything we do is try to say, like, how are we making sure we have the ability to stay at the forefront when something new comes in? So that's just,
Yeah, and the way I interpret what you're saying is, are the people that you're, or the vendors, if I can use that word, the vendors that you're working with, do they sort of have a mantra of we've arrived, or do they have a mantra of we are evolving? We're here, but we're planning for there.
That's right. That's it. That's it exactly. The companies I've been at for 8 years and that IPO'd, they had that mentality, which was, we started here. Uyala, I was at Uyala for 8 years. Wonderful company, one of the top 2 in digital streaming. Now everyone's just like, everything's a video. But back then when we started, digital streaming was fairly, not that it was new, but it was YouTube, like YouTube. And then as you grow, you're like, okay, we did this first part of video on demand. Now it's live. Live video is hard. But if you don't keep growing with that, you'll be left behind, right? So I always look at, Provarity, same thing. Like what we're solving for now, we're going to win this part of the market, but where we end up will be a wildly different place.
Yeah. Yep. So I have 2 closing questions, and I know we've been almost 55 minutes here. So I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate you giving me and this audience some of your time. I see there's a question from Dimitri. He asked who your buying personas and what is the typical business case. So Dimitri, I actually asked Steve that about 20 minutes ago. So maybe you weren't with us. The short answer, if I can paraphrase for you, Steve, is global SE leaders of large organizations, rev ops, and CROs and sales leaders, right?
100%.
Yep. And the scenarios or the use cases are wildly different depending on the situation. So, by the way, I'll also make a plug for Dimitri. Dimitri just published a book called The Presales Navigation System. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite new books in the space. So, if anybody out there listening hasn't picked it up yet, I encourage you to do so. 2 final questions for you, Steve.
Yeah.
In no particular order. What excites you the most about when you think about AI and the rapid evolution?
Yeah.
What excites you the most about where you see AI going?
Well, that's a hard question for 2 minutes. I think the excitement goes back to my earlier career. Same excitement I had when e-commerce internet came out. And you looked at, client server software was clunky, hard to use, 3-year implementations. And then all of a sudden we looked at this internet e-commerce thing and websites were going up left and right. And then it became easy to sell products. That was really exciting to see where that would go. And like the internet we have now, you wouldn't really recognize from what it was 20 years ago. Like where I'm really interested to see is AI continuing on this path of, it used to be like, oh, AI. So I did a search and got an answer back. Now it's prompts. Now it's agentic. What's coming later is mind blowing. And it's just the exciting part is how much more fun it is to work on hard, complex problems and strategy versus minutia. And it's just going to keep getting better and better. It's exciting. It's exciting time. And the pace of innovation is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah. And again, I mean, you and I are probably roughly the same age. I mean, my first job out of school was, writing COBOL DB2 and CICS on a green screen, right?
Yeah.
So, final question: what, if anything, concerns you about AI and where it may be headed?
Yeah, that's an easy one. It's the ethics of AI. There's been a long history of ethical questions when it comes to tech, unfortunately. If this isn't governed in any way, shape, or form, this is a technology that we understand kind of. You can watch interviews, 60 Minutes with the heads of Claude and Anthropic and all the, and they look and you're like, yeah, I'm really not sure. We're trying to figure out how that answer came up. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest concern I have is the ethics behind it. What happens? Deep fakes are one thing. What happens when they're weaponized, right? What happens when there's no governing control over AI? And it's hard. It's that fine line of, look, you want to keep free speech and innovation and all of that. That doesn't mean there are no governors to what we're doing. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. I can't say I'm an expert on it, but a lot of people, I don't even understand what the ramifications of unchecked AI actually mean.
Yeah.
And that's a little scary.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned I was at the SENY event last week. They did a thing on AI, and I asked a similar question near the end of the panel. And I prefaced it by saying I'm both unbelievably intrigued and enthusiastic about AI and where it's going. I'm equal parts at times terrified of the potential that AI has. And to your point, it's a great time to be in this industry.
Yeah, so, I'm with you on both of those. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Steve, it's been an absolute delight to have this conversation. I hope maybe in 6 months or so, you'll come back and we can do this again. I'm going to invite you to hang around backstage just for a moment so we can part ways properly. Before we do, any closing thoughts or comments from you, sir?
No, I think we covered a lot in an hour, but I would say if anyone's listening out there and you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to me on LinkedIn and I will get to those questions as soon as I can.
Excellent. Super. Folks, for those of you who hung around for the entire session, thank you so much for being here. Of course, if you don't already, I encourage you to follow #TechSalesAdvice. I encourage you to go to, is it Provarity? What's the website?
It is Provarity.ai as the website, but we'll keep that.
Okay. So I encourage you to go to Provarity.ai to learn more about them. I encourage you to reach out to Steve to connect with him. And of course, if you like this, please feel free to share with others. And you can go to techsalesmastery.com to learn more about what we do if you don't already know. That wraps it up. Steve, hang around just for a second. For everyone else, I'll be back next week with another Tech Sales Advice. Thanks all.